This Christmas, Martin Scorsese's new film, The Wolf of Wall Street, will be released, based on the life of Jordan Belfort. I got a chance to sit down and speak with Mr. Belfort, who is being portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio. Let's go take a look. Hi, Mr. Belfort. So great to have you here.
Thank you.
Martin Scorsese has produced a film out of your memoir, The Wolf of Wall Street, and Leonardo DiCaprio is portraying you. So what I'm curious about is, how do you feel about DiCaprio portraying you? I know that you've spent some amount of time with you, and do you think that he is the right choice for you?
It's better than Danny DeVito, I think, right? So I think I'm heading in the right direction with that. So, no, listen, he's amazing. I mean, he's a brilliant actor, brilliant guy, and he's a very dedicated guy, and he works really hard at his craft and, trying to really, make sure that he, understands the character and to go deeper. I think one of the secrets that he has that people don't get is that Leo works really hard at the stuff that he does. He tortures himself over every line, every scene, and we worked on this script, and the script was written by a guy named Terrence Winter, Boardwalk Empire, Sopranos, a brilliant writer. And the first draft of that script was amazing, but still, when the movie we got like 5 months out of the movie, we went through every single line, trying to make sure it was authentic and just, restructuring anything. And so it was that was the sort of attention to detail that really, Leo brings to the table. And of course, along with Scorsese, who's like, the greatest director ever, right? So, they were able to really, I guess, bring my memoir to life. And obviously it's a long and complicated story. So I think the reason I know it got delayed because they just, the movie, I think the original cut was almost 3 hours and 45 minutes. So, but now it's, Christmas release.
So obviously it's an incredible story that you have. You started from the first page where you were described by your first boss as pond scum, and then of course worked your way up to the top with Stratton Oakmont. Right. You're making $1 million a week. Mm-hmm. So clearly you were very ambitious, but you got a bit greedy, as some might say. So where do you think that you draw the line between those two things? How do you think that someone who is an aspiring business person can prevent themselves from becoming greedy and make money, make wealth, be rich, but without making the mistakes that you did?
Good question. And I think that's really, I'm giving a talk here tonight. It's one of the things I really am probably going to focus on. And I think that there's a couple of different distinctions here that really kind of together roll up into what I consider to be sort of a strategy to protect a budding entrepreneur from really going to the dark side. So clearly one of those things is the ability to understand your own desire for instant gratification. I've always been the sort of guy from the time I was 5 years old. I wanted it yesterday. I want it now. And in business, when you go out into the business world, it takes time to build things the right way, to develop products, to make sure you perfect, your delivery system. So there's so many different aspects of a business. It's not just, you find a product and you sell it. There's a whole, back end to it. So this idea that, you want to go in and get rich right now, that's dangerous because that doesn't mean you lose your ethical way, but it predisposes you, because very often the decisions that you make that yield short-term profits are counterproductive for long-term success. You get it? So moves that you make that can make you more money today will not yield success in the longer term. That's one thing. The second aspect of it is basically that in your heart. In other words, I think that people, sometimes they just forget that as human beings, unless you're a sociopath, and if someone's a sociopath or a psychopath, well, then it doesn't matter. They got to go and do bad shit, right? But someone who is, morally, gets it, right? In your heart and your stomach when you're doing something wrong. I always knew when I was stepping over the line. The issue is that it starts with rationalizations and justifications and all these ways that you convince yourself that what you're doing is really not bad, or at least not different than anybody else. So the idea is to understand that we all have a moral compass, and unless you're really off your rocker, that moral compass is usually a pretty good guide. So when you get that feeling in your stomach that you're not doing something right, you're probably not doing something right, and it's time to back off. That's the second thing. Third thing is going to be that you can't be half pregnant when it comes to ethics and integrity. This is a huge thing that we saw just happen on Wall Street. You look at AIG, for example, massive company, $30-40 billion company, right? Running legitimately for God knows how many years, yet one sliver of a division up in Connecticut is enough to bring down the whole organization, because that one division was not ethical. So in other words, even a little bit of ignoring, the ethics and integrity, you can destroy everything. So either you're going to be ethical or not. There's really no middle ground, okay? Which really rolls up to not taking the first step over that line, because it's very difficult to come back, okay? And lastly, I would think that, in terms of just, this whole idea of what is really business about. And the mistake that I made when I first went into business, and it's a mistake that a lot of kids make, because it's almost like we look and say, well, I'm in business to make money. But actually, that's not really what the function of a business is all about. The function of a business is to monetize value. So you need to focus on giving value first. Okay, that's the trick. So if you, our brains are like computers. So we ask ourselves questions, and our brain gives us answers. Ask a bad question, you get a bad answer. The question I asked myself every single day when I was 26 years old, making $1 million a week and going wild, was, how do I make more money? That was what I kept asking myself, right? So what happens? Your brain's smart. It gives you some really good answers, and it gives you some bad answers. Your brain's always going to give you an answer. It's wired to give you some response. It could be a bad response. The better question is, how do I give more value? How do I create something that everyone's going to love? Because people will always pay for value. So it's the idea of shifting your focus to creating and delivering value, and the money will follow, and you'll make more money than you ever dreamed possible.
So you described how money can sort of be an instant gratification issue. Do you think that then money is basically a drug? You were addicted to real drugs, prostitutes. Do you think that money was an addiction just like any of those other things?
No, I don't think money's an addiction, because I think money's an amazing thing. I still love money, and I still go out and make a lot, and I try to earn money. So I don't think money into itself is evil, but I think money is not evil. It's a great thing. With money, you can do wonderful things. Now, you're not going to buy happiness with money, right? But a lack of money could be a passport to misery. So I don't look at money as that. What I look at it as is that what is behind your desire to make money. Sometimes people are looking to make money to fill a hole. And they think that once they fill that, they make the money, they'll feel better about themselves. So that's pretty dangerous stuff, because what happens, you start getting desperate because you make the money, and then all of a sudden you don't feel good. Wait a second, I thought I'd feel good when I was rich. So that's what happens to a lot of people, especially on Wall Street, because there's no, you're not creating anything. So you make all this money, yet there's no tangible product you've created. It'll happen so quickly, so people start to get desperate. They buy a car, they'll buy a faster car, a bigger car, a house, a bigger house, a summer house, a ski house, a jet, a yacht, second yacht. It's a sort of vicious cycle. So I don't think money itself is that it causes that. It's the underlying factors of that you're trying to cover a hole by money.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Belfort.
You got it.